Hi, I'm Fire Chief Richard Kelley, and welcome to the 4th episode of Coffee with the Fire Chief.
Hey, Chief.
Hey, good morning, Kari. How are you doing?
Good. What's up?
Hey, I just wanted to reach out to you. I know you're very busy, but I wanted to see if you had time to grab some coffee.
Oh, I'd love that. I'm out and about doing some errands getting ready for the 30th. You want me to just stop by and I'll grab some coffee and come see you?
Perfect. I'll meet you out in the rig room.
All right, be there in a little bit.
All right, thanks. All right,
Thanks.
bye. In this episode, I'll be sitting down with Kari Watkins, Executive Director of the Oklahoma City National Memorial and Museum. Hey, Kari.
Hey,
Good
Chief.
morning.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much. I appreciate
coffee.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Well, I appreciate you coming over.
Oh
I
my
just
gosh, thanks for having me.
have a little coffee, and I know you've seen this rig before, but this is one that's very special, I think, to all of us.
Absolutely.
But give you a little backstory. I'm going to walk you around the rig
Yeah.
before I give you a ride.
Please,
And
teach me
we'll
all
go
about
over and
it.
sit down. Yes, ma'am. You know, this was something that we looked at just to, so we could, when people walk by, they wonder, okay, that's a fire engine, but to really tell the story for this. This was the first rig that arrived on scene on April 19th, 1995. It did come from Fire Station 1 here, and we'll actually drive the path that they took that
I
day,
look
which
forward to
is,
that.
pretty powerful when you think about it and what they were
Gives me goosebumps.
going into that day. But
Not
you know,
knowing what they were walking into,
Right,
right?
right. Definitely, we didn't at that point. But I think it's so important that we have the mission there, and it really tells the story for everybody. And that's what for our firefighters, we have so many that are retiring, and it's interesting. I pull the numbers usually every April, and I've looked at. We have 26 that are left that
Wow.
responded to the bombing that day. So there were still,
So
still
almost everyone
firefighters
is
there.
retiring.
Almost everybody's gone. So
Wow.
and we're going to see some retire May 1st. So that number is actually going to go down. But
Wow.
older rig. I'll just walk you around it real quick. Talk a little bit about it. It was actually built in 1989. I think it went in service here around 1990. So it's still in good shape.
Right.
We use it for parades. We use it at the Memorial Marathon.
We do, yeah.
Which is so important for us to really just get out and tell the story and to show people what it's about and how we honor everyone's memory in that. This is really to honor the firefighters that were here that day.
Right.
And that responded on those 16 days working. And
Everybody got to work, right?
they did. And not just the Oklahoma City Fire Department.
Right.
All the
Around
public
the state,
safety,
yeah.
from around the city, from around the state, and we know the 11 urban search and rescue teams
Right.
that came here that day. So this is selfish for me too. I get an opportunity to drive a fire engine. So
You can still drive.
well,
We'll see.
we'll see on that.
That's very cool.
But
And what a nice honor for those folks.
Yeah, it was really important for us to pay homage to that. And again, you're a big part of that, telling the story and, letting everyone know.
It makes me want to
what
bring
it's
those
about.
guys back and talk about it at some point.
And I do appreciate, we take all our recruits.
Right.
And that's so important. We think about the city, the change, the dynamics of
Whole different
and
place.
the dynamics of the fire department to really be able to go back there and learn about. I love what Sam Presti does with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Of every player
Every
goes
player
through that,
comes
and
through.
that's important for us too because we want to know our firefighters, the city they're representing,
Right.
and what the firefighters before them, what they've done, and how they've.
This all didn't just happen.
Right.
People
Right.
made it happen.
But you can see it's still in good shape.
It really
we keep it at
is.
one of our fire stations, and it's definitely changed over time.
Fire trucks look different today.
They do a little bit different, but you can kind of see everything about it. We have the American flag on
Always
there.
carry the flag. I love that.
Everything about that, but that's kind of
So
the
these,
grand.
these are the hose, which are perfectly
Yes. So
Place.
it's interesting. This is a side load. We don't do that anymore.
Okay.
We don't have those on our rigs anymore. It's interesting. They're flush. And it's a little bit different
So
design.
after a
but
fire, you have to get all the water out and
You got to get all the water out, clean the hose. We wash it down, put it back in there. And it used to in the day, that's where you had hose towers. It was cotton hose.
Okay.
So if you did not let the hose dry, it would actually rot.
okay.
But now with this synthetic type fiber, you can put it up wet. But it's got to be clean because if not, it can damage the hose in the
Right.
future. So
Wow, that's some work.
pretty interesting.
People have no idea the work and the safety that goes into these.
It is interesting. There's a lot of, unfortunately, some of the safety laws that we have is because of people getting injured, and we
Right.
learn from that and get better. And just as
So this is where you tie in?
that's actually that's called a steamer connection. That connects directly to a hydrant. That's how we get water
Okay.
off of that, and then we pump off these. These are called discharges.
So that's where these hoses go onto that?
Yes, yes, ma'am. They go into this. Now, this is actually a smaller intake, a pony suction that goes into, but a little bit about the engine there. So, if you got some time,
I'm
we'll
ready
jump
for
in
a
and take a
ride.
ride. Let's
Yeah,
do
let's
it.
do it.
All right. Again, thank you so much for the coffee.
Yeah.
There's the seat belt is a little different there. It's only a waist belt, so you gotta. Well, this is pretty special driving with you in the apparatus, but I'm going to take you the route that actually on April 19th, 1995, our firefighters drove to the site.
Wow,
So,
yeah. So they get the 911 call and they load up and go.
my understanding, and I was not on duty that day, but talking to, I had one of the firefighters there was in my recruit class, had about 3.5 years on the job, but my understanding, they just heard it. Everybody there heard the blast go off. And
So we're just like a couple blocks away, so
right.
it's easy
Yes,
to hear.
ma'am. We'll go down 5th, which runs right into the memorial.
Right.
When they pulled out, they actually could see it, and they all went to the incident before anyone was dispatched.
Wow.
So it was that quick that they were able to get out of the fire station. They all pulled out onto the front apron, and they looked, and they seen the smoke
Right.
from the cars that were burning across the street. So then they came out, and they're actually on 5th Street, and that's where we're going to turn and go up 5th Street. And I can't imagine that day as we turn here and go towards Regency Towers, and right over that we can see the gateway to the
Right.
memorial, but can't imagine what they were seeing, driving here. I talked to Chief Mars, and he told me as they came over the hill that we're coming to, that they actually were starting to encounter some of the patients, some people that had come from the building. So
So we're running away.
they were coming away from the building. So
Wow.
as they were coming over this, they were greeted with patience, and seeing the cars on fire,
Yeah.
and everything there. No one had really got a picture of the building yet, so no one knew exactly what was going on. But when
that right now.
when they crested the hill, they said they were starting to be met with with patience. So it's just hard to imagine what was going through their mind that day. My story too is I've told a few times that I was not on duty that day, so I was working for IMSA on my day off. And when I knew the fire department wasn't always real big on calling back firefighters, so I caught the last ambulance out of IMSA's post, and I got dropped off right here.
Wow.
So right here on 5th Street, northwest corner. I still remember.
The axle flies over here.
The axle was right there,
That's
and
crazy.
I didn't know that until the bomb scare, and I ran past the axle, and that
Wow.
when we
So
had the secondary
so you ran
device,
this way.
and I came
So
back
you were
this
there
way.
pretty quick, though.
I got there about 9:40 to 9:45, I estimate. But yeah, I was right here. It's hard to believe.
Wow. How many would be in this truck going?
Back then, we had to have at least 3 on
Okay.
here. There probably was 4 that day, but our minimum staffing on these rigs is 3.
Okay.
So that was unbelievable.
Wow.
Just another beautiful March day in Oklahoma. So
It is. The good news is all 3 flags are flying, and those flags are symbolic about like what we talked about earlier. It's
Right.
the unity of the city, the state, and the federal
Right,
government coming
right.
together to work through this. And so those stand, over the memorial symbolically, reminding us of the unity we had then and how to keep working for it today.
Right. I mean, coming down here at night, it's just incredible to see how beautiful it is, and the chairs lit up. And
Right.
just the pool, reflecting pool, and everything about it. I mean, it's masterfully done when you really look at, from someone that actually spent time here, and I can't say enough about it. can you talk a little bit
Sure.
about the meaning
Sure.
and everything about it?
I mean, the designers took the mission statement that both the family survivors, first responders, blessed, and the community, and they were eerily similar to what everybody wanted. And that was a place of comfort, strength, peace, hope, and serenity.
Right.
And so you hope that someone finds those along the way. And the reflecting pool is 3/4 of an inch deep so that you can see your face of someone changed forever by their visit here.
Right.
But they recognize the survivors on the footprint, the 168 people who were killed are recognized in the chairs. Their names are on each, a name is on each chair, recognizing that person. The smaller chairs represent the children. And those are 9 rows representing the 9 floors of the building that you guys climbed through to try to find survivors. And so you realize the shallowness of that building. It was tall, but it was not that deep.
Right.
And so you came in either street side or off the plaza, and that's all part of the story.
It's so interesting. You know, when I first got here, I was dropped off on Northwest 5th Street there, but at one part I made my way to the courtyard area, and everyone kept talking about a basement, and it was so interesting that day that people thought they were, but it was actually on the 2nd floor. The 1st floor was a walk out to 5th Street.
Right,
So
there was no basement.
no basement.
But the daycare was on the 2nd floor, and they had this playground, which GSA restored and memorializes up on the plaza, and that is part of telling the story of the innocent kids who McVeigh called collateral damage. And so we just recognized the innocence of the lives that were taken because people came to work that day. They didn't go to war.
They showed up to work.
They just showed up to work.
Right. Raising families.
Yep.
Paying bills, doing what we do every day.
Coaching baseball, teaching Sunday school, whatever it was.
Can't forget
there was a
that.
minister in Social Security that brought someone from his congregation to get Social Security card.
Right.
I mean, it was the innocence of all innocence, truly.
Oh yeah, so much. I do, as we just spin around here and obviously reflecting on the survivor tree. Tell us a little bit about this story. It's
Well, you're starting to see the buds come out, but a little bit of mistletoe hangs in that tree. That's 110 years old.
Oh wow.
American elm. You can see where it burned in half. That morning, this was parking lot, and so there were cars parked under here, and we give seedlings away from this tree every April 19th. Going to plant a survivor tree sapling at the United States Capitol in April, and this tree really is symbolic of the strength of Oklahoma. It burned but didn't break.
Right.
It is a strong piece of life that stands at the highest point of the memorial, watching guard over the rescuer's orchard, the chairs, the survivor wall, the reflecting pool. It is kind of our watch guard and our symbol of strength.
It is. It's so powerful when you see that and living.
Yeah,
and it's
the best cared for tree, I promise you. And underneath this plaza is a sprinkler system and a crawl space where we can.
Actually,
there's no pressure on the root system.
Right.
And it's a very well cared for tree. Now, we are growing its replacement in several places around the state, so that whatever day this living, breathing tree decides it's done, we'll have the closest thing to it. With the cutting and grafted onto a seedling, and so those are growing. And someday that day will come. I hope it's not on my watch.
Sure.
That's something I've learned I cannot control.
But as a leader, that's why you prepare for the future today.
Yeah.
And you got to think.
We have a recovery plan, an emergency plan for that tree. Many nights when it's iced, we've all been out here with bamboo sticks, beating the ice off that tree. We've lost a couple branches due to wind and ice, but the tree's strong and resilient like the people here.
Right. It's interesting, though, the partnerships, too, in that, because you have a lot of people that care for the tree.
Oh, yeah. Department of Ag, State Department of Ag, and, you guys have helped us with things. It's just been remarkable to watch people who care enough about the site. They'll come and donate their time and hours or equipment to help us do something with it.
Yeah, it's so impressive. And then as we walk down to the reflecting pool, this is I've had a lot of friends from, fire service, public safety, just friends come down here, family members, and they talk about how beautiful it is. and how powerful it is when they come and walk through the space.
The 901 we talked about represents the
Right.
moment before, the
Right.
innocence. And then the memorial is in the space of 902 when the bomb went off.
Right.
And then as we leave 903, we see people change forever and promise and light and hope as we go on and live to honor those that were lost.
Now, I know you do Christmas wreaths out here.
We do, yeah.
On the trees. Is there any other events
On
that
the
you
chairs.
do? Just
Well,
to-
on April
to honor?
19th, families or birthdays, families will come and put a wreath or fresh flowers or a teddy bear or something that symbolizes their loved ones.
Right.
That happens often. And these chairs are all individually made, so they're symbolic of the person they represent. So there's no two chairs that are exactly alike, either from the glass or from the bronze and how it's aging. But it really is symbolic to the person.
Right.
And then at night, as you said, the chairs are lit. And you can tell we've had wind because of all the pine
Oh,
cones
yeah.
around. But it really is, this field of empty chairs really reminds us of the loss. So if you took these chairs and pushed them back into that bombed out building, and the pictures you've seen of the bombed out building, and if you push the chairs back in, it would make that building whole again. That's how they're laid out.
Wow. Wow. Now the grounds are beautiful. You guys do such a great job of maintaining, manicuring. How often is it mowed and cared for? Is it pretty regular?
Every Monday morning, year
Right.
round, it's cared for. They'll be out later today when this wind dies down to pick up sticks and cones. But our landscape company has shears and they cut around the chairs. They're not. We don't want to take a mower near the chair.
Mm-hmm.
And these chairs age and weather with time, just like you and I and everyone does. Sometimes better than
I
others.
was going to say they're a lot better than me.
Yeah, sometimes better than others. Some are better than others.
Right.
But it really is symbolic of a person. And the bronze, some people are like, why don't you bring it back to its beauty of bronze? And the reason is we all age and
Right,
change, and
right.
so that was how they were designed to be.
The beauty is in how they do change.
Right, that's right. These 5 people were killed across the street. So
Right.
they were not in the Murrah building, they were across the street, either in Water Resources building, the Athenian building, and then Rebecca Anderson here on
Was
the
it?
front is the
Right.
nurse who came to help and
Right.
was hit in the head and died a few days later. I think one of the things, we've done this journey of hope, and you guys have helped us on that. We've been going to all 77 counties in Oklahoma.
That's powerful.
And you've met so many, reacquainted with so many of these families or kids who have grown up
Right.
or have never been willing to tell their story, and they come out and tell their story. I met Rebecca's daughter in Roland, Oklahoma. She came over from Fort Smith. I mean, these are great people who are
Oh,
doing
wow.
great things.
Sure.
They just had a really bad blow in 1995, and they had to figure out how to move on.
Sure.
And you just see the triumph of these people's lives and how well they've done. And not everyone's in perfect shape, but everyone has tried very hard to move forward.
Sure. Sure.
And same with the rescue workers and the first responders. And I just want to, I should have said this when we were over there, but around the tree, it talks about to those who came, to those who responded from near and far, we offer our eternal gratitude. And that is symbolic to the first responders and the volunteers who came
Right.
to help.
Oh, yeah.
And
So many.
so many of them. And so these rescue orchard here is really fruit and flower bearing trees that show the fruits of the labor of your work in 1995.
I know there was 11 urban search and rescue teams that came to Oklahoma City. Do you all, I know you reach out, and is there much contact? I mean, obviously at
is
that
some.
time, there's many of us are retiring.
Yeah. I sent an email last week to some DC folks because we're going to be there, and several of the .gov emails bounced back. I think these folks are just retired, but from Montgomery County and
Right.
Baltimore and some
Oh,
of those
yeah.
places. But the wisdom of Chief Mars, who was willing to say, come help.
Right. Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of leaders who wouldn't have had
Sure.
the
Right.
humility and the wisdom to do that. And I
Right.
give him so much credit. And I think about the Keatings, who were 44 and 49 years old, leading our state
Wow.
through this. I mean,
Wow.
you think about the leadership in Chief Gonzalez. I mean, the leadership we had in place in Oklahoma City Mayor Norick. I mean, just remarkable people who stepped up
Oh, yeah.
to serve, and they had no idea what they're about to
Right.
guide us through.
Sure.
But those rescue teams are still a big part of our story. We kicked off day one in November with a tribute to a lot of those teams who stayed at what was then the Myriad, then the Cox, now Prairie Surf, now about to come down as we make way for a new arena. But that's also progress of our city, right? Is that things come and go, and we make progress.
Right.
We keep
Definitely.
moving forward.
That's what we have to do. So, well, thank you so much for walking us around the beautiful grounds that we have here and telling us a little bit about, what
Yes.
we're memorializing and everything. Let's go inside and warm up and
All right, let's go talk.
have a talk.
Yeah.
Thanks for sitting down with me today, Kari. This means a lot, especially the time of year we're looking at and the relationship that we have and that you have with the city and, the survivors and everyone and what you do for us. And I just thank you for taking time. 'Cause
Oh my
I know-
gosh, I'm honored.
I
Thank
know,
you guys.
I know you're busy. And this for me is really an opportunity to get to know you more. Obviously, as we sat down and had coffee and just to get to know each other a little bit better. And we work together a lot, but we really never have personal time. So
Correct.
this is really just to get to know you. But just in that, your background, and like I said, seems like I've worked with you for so many years, but where were you born? Where'd you grow up at? Kind of give me that life story.
I was born in Tulsa.
Okay.
I was raised in a rural, right on the banks of the Arkansas River, Cleveland, Oklahoma.
Okay, yeah.
Between Stillwater and Tulsa. My dad was a weekly newspaper man and turned elected official later in his life and later in my life. My mom was just a great stay-at-home mom, was there for everything, and just spent my childhood in Cleveland and raising cattle on a farm. That's how I went to college. You got cattle every year, you fed
Right.
them, you
Oh,
sold
yeah.
them, and you
Oh,
put
yeah.
the money in the bank. And so that's kind of was my life, and just understanding and loving rural Oklahoma, which has changed dramatically over the last 30 years, I'll say.
Definitely.
But my dad still lives in Cleveland. My mom passed a couple years ago. It's fun to go home, but it's also a reality just of how much our world is changing. And so many people have left rural Oklahoma to come to the cities where there's more opportunity and higher paying jobs and stuff. And so the town has changed, but it's still home. So it's fun to see that. But it's also, I'm in that stage of life where I'm watching my parents, my dad age. And so trying to balance all that with
Sure.
a couple of college kids and
Yeah.
a very supportive husband. So
Right.
very,
Yeah.
very lucky on
A
that
lot.
front.
You mentioned college. Where'd you go to college?
Went to OU.
Okay.
Everyone in my family had gone to OU. And even though we were 15, 20 minutes from Stillwater, until it became part of my dad's House Representatives District, we didn't really pretend Stillwater existed. It was just, I'm wearing red for the fire department today, not for
thank
OU.
you.
But,
well, we appreciate
but
it.
no, really, every great state needs two great colleges.
Sure.
And so OSU's a great college and has done so many great things. But my heart is in Norman, and my kids are at two. And so we've left some money there. But I had an incredible time in college, and my brother and sister were both in Norman, and tons of friends. And so really everything to us always goes back to Norman. So
Right.
my son played football in Davidson and is back at OU for law school, and my daughter is a junior architecture interior design major. And so
Awesome.
we get to Norman once or twice a week.
Oh yeah, that's good stuff. It's funny. I have a degree from OSU, but I bleed crimson and cream.
Is that
so-
right? Well, but
It's just-
OSU's got a great fire
It
school.
does. It's phenomenal,
Yeah.
and that's what I mean. And I love what you said. Two great
Yeah, it really
universities in our
does.
state. It's phenomenal how we work together, and it's kind of like police and fire.
Right.
And, we do that too.
There's a little edge, but you still love one another.
we do that well.
Yeah.
On a serious note, on April 19th, 1995, where were you?
I was finishing my MBA at Oklahoma City University, and I was literally walking out the door to go to a class, and felt the pressure, and came back in and turned on the TV, which was on Regis and Kathy Lee, which was Channel 9, and just within a minute or two, that helicopter shot came on, and it was like, wow, something's happened. My dad was a state representative. He was at the Capitol, and he was actually at the governor's mansion. He was the minority leader, and was me with Governor Keating at the time. They had a breakfast once a week, and I think they disbanded pretty quickly. And so I talked to him, and then I just remember just kind of watching the day unfold. My uncle was a highway patrolman, and he was sitting here to work. and talked to him, and he's like, I'm going to camp out at your house. And so I think as the day unfolded, you just began to realize, even though we didn't know every detail, that something, not only had something terrible happen, but it was something even deeper than anything we could imagine.
Right.
I think a terrorist attack in downtown Oklahoma City would have been the furthest thing from our mind.
Oh yeah. I don't never envisioned it. In your professional life at that time, were you working? What were you doing?
I was had left Sonic. I was head of communications at Sonic. I had left Sonic and invested in some bagel shops with some of my Sonic buddies, and was really finishing my college, finishing my MBA. And so I wasn't really working, and it really was just trying to focus on what I could do to finish my MBA and be done with that. And that had been an incredible experience, but you take 2 or 3 classes a semester while you work, and I was just ready to get it done.
Yes,
I was about to turn 30, and I wanted to be done before I was 30.
Right.
So
Understand. Obviously, where you are today, you've done so much, but how did that journey? How did you move into that space? What was that took place?
It's a crazy story, but I was selling some stock, and I had a friend named, one of my friends who was in law school, a guy named Tony Rahal, referred me to his friend Joey Ferretti, who was at Crow and Dunleavy. And Joey today is bigwig at PepsiCo, Frito-Lay, from Oklahoma City, great kid. But he's like, well, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm just going to finish my MBA and get this done. He's like, yeah, I'm not sure that's a great idea. You got to do something. And he's like, one of my partners, Bob Johnson, has been named to oversee the memorial process. And your background, you'd be great just to work a few hours a week and help him. I'm like, yeah.
Right.
And I heard him, but didn't really pay that close attention. By the time I'd gotten home that night, Bob had left me a message to chat with him. And I think I met with Karen Luke and Roland Denman and Jeanette Gamba and Bob in different times in the next few days. And I totally understood it almost immediately that this was a grassroots effort, a community effort to help family survivors, first responders, and figure out what this site would look like. Not knowing how big it would be, not knowing what we wanted, but they had some great things already in place, and were doing World Wide Web surveys. And think about that, 1995, 90, that was very new.
Different.
And then they were doing these surveys at the post offices all around town. I was just rereading that the other day. It made me kind of laugh, but how far we've come with technology and just what we rely on with these phones, and just the amazing part of how the community came together. And the story could have been written so differently. And I think back, not to take one day of that for granted, but last week I had a call from a property owner around here, and I was thinking his attitude was so different than what we saw in 1995. I remember bringing all the property owners around the site. Our first office was over there in the BOK lobby at 4th and Robinson, and we brought all the property owners together, and that was the first time really they had been brought together. And Mayor Norg was there, but we were talking about what we wanted to build. We didn't know what it was going to look like, but we wanted their buy-in. These are businesses that need people to drop off cleaning, eat meals, and buy things. I mean, these are people who need consumers, and just their mentality and their hospitality and their generous spirit just is like, whatever we need to do, we're in for you. And I think about that every time I drop off my cleaning at Fashion Cleaners, or we go to Walker Stamp and Seal. I mean, some of the people have moved, the pizza places on down into the city, other places, but some people stayed. The churches stayed. They could have easily moved north or south, and they stayed right downtown. And you know that you've been around it. It hasn't always been the downtown we enjoy today.
Oh yeah.
And so I give such credit to the people who stayed the course.
Right.
And I hope they're as proud of the redevelopment of the area as we are.
Right. It's interesting, people that stayed the course. You've obviously stayed the course. Been there from almost the beginning all the way to where we are today. Is there anything that you look back, and I know everything you've done is to honor, those family members, those that died, those that survived, the first responders, but is there anything that you look at and you feel like that you're super proud of? I mean, probably so many things, but is there one thing, you talked about that process. That wasn't easy.
I think the process is as important as its finished design and museum, because it's what got both of these for us. This wasn't created by some government handbook or Park Service has been a partner, but they did not create or design this space. And so I think it's been important to understand that when people work together, this is what you get. We had some city money, some state money, some federal dollars to build it. We don't live off any of that.
Right.
And so we built it, and then we built an endowment, and people pay admission to come here, and we have a marathon. It's a pretty simple business plan. But I'm as proud of the process as anything we've done. And sometimes that was 2 steps forward and 10 steps back. Sometimes it was dealing with the emotions of family members or families going through battles that they had to figure out themselves. I mean, you think about people went to work that day, and they didn't get to come home. They were either in the hospital or they were killed, or they were working all night trying to pull out people and save people. And you think about just one moment in time did that, and it forever changed our country's tapestry, certainly our city's tapestry. And you think about families having to figure out where their kids go. I heard Kyle Ginzer talk yesterday in a teacher workshop, and he was raised by a single mom. He had a dad, but like when he got home that night, when his mom would not be there, she would not be coming home.
Right.
And you think about just how many lives were impacted in that second, and survivors, first responders, people who went to work that day thinking it was going to be another day, not knowing they would be on the front lines of the worst domestic terrorist attack on American soil, and they would be the ones responsible for pulling bodies out, dead and alive. And I just think that moment and what it changed and how we all responded as a community and continued to respond by supporting this place or coming here, or the schools coming here to learn, that is the proudest for me, is just that we have a hallmark of unity. And the word unity and community is there for a reason, I believe. And it really is about coming together in our darkest hour and being able to shine some light. So we're excited as we get to the 30th anniversary, is that we don't forget where we've come from, we don't forget why we're here, but it is really, really powerful that we can be the light to others.
Right.
And so other communities come here to learn.
Right.
They
That's
can't
incredible.
quite figure out the magic formula we've had, but it really is about the people. It's about the men and women in uniform, out of uniform, who've said, we're going to go for the greater good and put our differences aside, our politics aside, our races aside, our economic levels aside. We're just going to go in and do the right thing. And you think back about that. You think back about how well that worked. It was not perfect, but it was really, really, really well done. And that was run by a task force of 350 people. If you've never done that, it's worth one time working with 350 folks. But in this instance, it really worked. And I take great pride in carrying that mission forward and keeping this site pristine.
Sure. And you talked about, I can't imagine, we talk about committees, we try to keep them very small, 350 people. To get that many people agree, that's impressive. Well, it really is. Yeah,
Mayor Norick and Bob Johnson, Karen Luke, they kind of looked at a formula of how to bring people together. And I give those guys a lot of credit. I mean, they set it up to be successful. And so you bring people along, they're at the table, they have a say, and you don't just go build something and go, here's your memorial. And so that setup that the mayor did, gosh, what an incredible vision. I mean, I said this last week, we have spent 30 years and millions of dollars and a lot of hours and blood, sweat, and tears to rebuild this city. And we're not ready just to hand it off for anyone to tear it up. We have to keep working together. And we have to keep figuring out how to meet people in the middle. And that is, in a world that's fractured and crazy, Oklahoma City has to keep shining that way, where we can say, all right, well, you may not see eye to eye on this, but we're gonna get there, and we're gonna figure it out together.
And I love, we've always used the Oklahoma Standard, but when you really go back to me, that, all of us, it may mean a little bit different, but to me, what you said earlier about putting our differences aside, no matter what we look like, our economic status, that we came together and we focused and we took care of each other, and we focused in that area. And I think that's something that we can shine a light in, of what that means, of how we care for each other. We put aside our political differences, and we focus on caring for each other, and hopefully that can definitely get synergy, that we can tell that story.
That's right, and it's a difference we have here that really no one's replicated quite the way we have. And so I take great pride in that, and we all should. We all should be proud of that.
is a big deal. Now, I know as we move forward, and you said it earlier, you guys have what you're saying this year is a day of darkness, years of light. And can you talk about that? Because it's very powerful. And
Sure.
I love the way.
Well, there was clearly more than one day of darkness,
Sure.
but there was one day of really dark
Sure.
day. And
Sure.
and that's the 902. The 901's the innocence before, the 903's the moment after. That's where the light began to shine. And so, day of darkness, years of light. And so as you walk through this site from 901 to 903, you experience the darkness. You see the 168 killed. You see all the survivors. You see the tribute to the rescue workers, the children. But as you leave at 903, we hope you're inspired to go be the light, to go be better than you were when you walked in onto these grounds or in this museum. We hope as people enter this district, they come off the interstate and they come into the downtown Oklahoma City. And that's where we direct everyone through 6th Street, Harrison. And so we hope that people realize when they see Be the Light. I mean, it doesn't say the Oklahoma City National Memorial. It's our gift back to the city for 30 years of great partnership. And so you see the letters OKC in the bronze of our gate, just as a champion of you're here, you're in a special place. And then you go under the bridge and you see the words Be the Light. We hope that's just a motivation or a reminder that as you come into the city, come in to go to a game, come in for whatever reason, commerce, work, whatever, that you go be the light that day. And so don't get caught up in all the noise, the news, the negativity, but you just go be the light. And so whatever way you can help someone, whatever way I can help someone, if it's a smile, pat on the back, word of encouragement, a push to say, you can do this, whatever it is, just go be the light.
Right. That's what I love. You know, obviously this is a tough space for me. Worked 11 days here, but what I really appreciate is the positive message. I mean, we honor the 168 and those that were injured and lives that were changed forever. But our focus when we leave here is to try to make a difference in a positive way. And you guys do such a great job in that. You lean into every space, the difficult conversations. I mean, better conversations. That's still a piece of still doing that.
Big part of our,
and a big part of, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for continuing this. I know it's not easy. And when I come to meetings, I'm the board of trustees and the conscience committee. I know you always push it out. It's other people, but I want to say thank you because I know it takes a lot of work.
Kind.
As a leader. You lean into those spaces, and it's not easy. But I really appreciate you taking time with me today to have some coffee and talk about this and talk about you because I'm inspired by you. And thank you for what you do.
Thanks. I've been surrounded by some great trustees, all 29 years, and some incredible staff. But I just want to say, as we wrap up, I mean, the work of the rescuers, men and women, all levels, federal, state, county, city, the work you guys did in those days set the tone for the lives we celebrate today. And I know bringing you back into the space and reliving those hard moments is not easy. But to watch you teach a group of kids, they're changed forever by watching you in your uniform talk about your 11 days on the site. And there are a lot of people who are doing that. But as a chief, you could have easily said, okay, we've done that, we're going to move on. But I think to the legacy of Chief Morris to today, you have honored that really, really well. And I just want to thank you as well. And it's something we don't always get to do, but to watch your leadership in the Conscience Committee and on our board, I'm really grateful that you're here.
Well, it's an honor to be a part of it. Well, again, thank you for coming today, Kari. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your friendship. And many more years of success in what you're doing. And again, have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.